don't have a lead problem, you have a conversation problem. If people are replying to your DMs but almost no one ever reaches your booking lead, then you're probably making at least one of a handful of mistakes that quietly kills the amount of sales calls you book. And today I'm going to show you exactly where those conversations are dying and how to fix it. In this video I'm going to show you exactly where your DM conversations are breaking down, how to identify the specific bottleneck that's costing you the most booking, and the simple changes that can dramatically increase the amount of sales calls you're booking. Qualified sales calls, I should add. First of all, imagine you're trying to board a flight. First you check in, then you get to security, then passport control, etc, etc. Then you get to your gate. But you miss one of those checkpoints and you're not getting on the plane. Your DM conversations are exactly the same way. Every prospect should be going through a series of checkpoints before they get to book on a call. The problem is that most coaches like yourself only judge by the end result. The only question you're asking is, did they book? But you never stop to think about where people are dropping off within the conversation when they don't book. And until you know that, how on earth do you think you're going to improve it? One of the biggest mistakes most coaches make is assuming people just randomly ghost them. Guess what? They don't. Prospects will never wake up one morning and decide that they no longer have the problem that you solve. What's far more common is that something within the conversation has happened to make them lose interest or to lose momentum within the conversation. Think about the last time you were shopping online. Maybe you saw a product that you liked. You added it to your basket, then life happened. Your phone rang, your daughter was downstairs screaming, dinner was ready, you got distracted. Then you didn't buy the product later. Why was that? Was it because you were no longer interested in it, or you no longer had the problem that it solved? No, it was probably because there was something wrong with the checkout process that made you hesitate. Or maybe you saw the same product somewhere else and it was cheaper and the checkout page loaded quicker. You didn't suddenly decide that you didn't want the product anymore just because you had a bit of a distraction. The journey just broke somewhere along the way because there was friction. DM conversations are exactly the same. Every single prospect moves through a series of stages. They notice you, they reply, they start trusting you, then they become interested, and then they should feel confident enough to go and book a call. The only downside to that is that each one of those stages is also an opportunity for someone to leave. And that doesn't mean you need less stages, that just means you need to identify where they're leaving. Unless you know that, you're going to keep trying to fix the wrong thing. And this is where I see so many online coaches waste months of their life rewriting their offer, increasing their ad spend, doing better with their content, or so they think, when the real problem had absolutely nothing to do with any of those things. And maybe those things can help. But in reality, if there's a tiny leak in the conversations that is costing you half of your deals, you better go and fix that first. And once you know where that leak is, suddenly the solution will become obvious. The patch will become obvious. It brings us to the second point. How do you actually find that leak? This is where data is going to become your best friend. And trust me, I find nothing more boring than tracking things. Dashboards and KPI sheets, they're not exciting, but they are necessary, and they are what's going to make you money in the long run. Because numbers don't lie, and unfortunately, most of you coaches are only tracking one number, and that's book calls, if you're even tracking that. Start trying to improve your fitness by only tracking your weight, but not your calories. You can see that you've gained weight, but you have absolutely no idea what caused it. Instead, you've got to look at the conversation like a funnel. How many people replied? How many people made it to question 1, 2, 4, 6? Where are most people dropping off out of those questions? And how many people are getting through to the booking link and through to booking a call? And every one of those numbers will tell a different story. Say you message 100 people and only 10 reply. You've identified your first bottleneck just like that. You need to change the message. Or you notice that 50% of people are falling off at your 5th question. That's another bottleneck, and that's a question that you either need to remove entirely or just change, which is most likely going to be the case. Same goes, by the way, if you can see that a lot of people are making it to the end but not booking. It's a transition problem. You could be waiting too long, you might not have created enough urgency throughout the conversation, you might have been too friendly with them and not actually been an authority and a leader throughout the conversation. But until you track these things, you're not going to know. Most of you are fixing your problems the exact same way. Let's get more leads, let's post more content, let's spend more on ads. You're simply pouring more people into an already broken system. You might get a few more bookings because of it, but you're also going to burn way more leads. Once you identify which stage people are actually falling off at, where the leaks are, you can stop guessing, and that's where the improvements will actually begin. Which leads to the final piece. How do you actually increase the number of book calls? It's the part that most of you are getting backwards. You think you just need to get better at selling your offer. Now, increasing your sales skills is never going to hurt anyone for sure, but a lot of the time, especially in DM setting, it actually just means you need to remove friction. Every stage of the conversation should have an objective. Most messages should not sell, they should get a reply, and a high quality reply at that actually helps you understand their situation even more. And once you've done that, the booking link won't feel like a surprise. Enough trust should have been built up by then that booking the call actually just feels like the natural next step, the obvious conclusion to the conversation you've already had. Think of it like climbing a staircase. Nobody simply jumps from the first step to the 10th unless you're a 5-year-old or a maniac. I did that when I was 5, it really hurt. Take one small step at a time, and your prospect should be doing the exact same thing throughout the conversation. If you ask them to book before you've built up enough trust or urgency, they're going to disappear. If you spend 30 minutes chatting without actually leading the conversation, they're going to disappear eventually again. They're not your friend, they're your prospect. You can be friendly, but not friends. You've got to be a leader. Small improvements at every stage should be compounded. Your reply rate improves by 10%, then the next stages of your conversation should be improving at 10%. Same with the amount of people that make it into the middle of the conversation and to the end. If the amount of booking links you're sending goes up by 10%, your booking should be going up by at least 10%. You haven't just improved one metric, you've improved the entire system with one small change. Or multiple if there is a lot of leaks in your process. That's how you can double your bookings without doubling your lead. You don't need more water, you just need to fix the leaks in the bucket. So don't always be asking, how do I get more leads? Now sure, get more leads, market, post content, do all of that stuff. Before you put all your energy into that, start asking, where are my current leads disappearing? Because I promise you now, the answer to that question is worth far more than 100 new leads, or even 10,000 new followers. Now hopefully you can see now that conversations don't just randomly die. There's always a bottleneck somewhere, it just needs to be tracked. Then identified, then fixed. But here's the thing, even if you fix every conversation in your DMs, there's still a bigger question to answer. Why am I still not booking enough sales calls? If you don't know which part of your client acquisition system is holding you back, then it's the exact same as the metrics. You'll end up fixing the wrong problems, whether that be content, follow-ups, etc, etc. If you want to diagnose your entire sales pipeline, I made this video, why online coaches aren't booking enough sales calls even when they have the leads. Click here, it will help you identify exactly which bottleneck is stopping your business from growing.